This is the meeting of the ARPA Applications Review Committee. It's March 22, 2023. We'll open the meeting as we always do with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Rob just came in.
First LGM.
Rob Fritz, can you hear me? Rob, can you hear me?
I can, Michael. Good morning. Good evening, everyone.
You're there.
Hey, Rob. Hey, Rob.
All right.
We're just about to start the roll call. So why don't we start, Rob, with you? We'll just go, around the
Okay.
table.
Rob Fritz, present.
Okay, Mike Burdinsky here.
Carl Bonamico here.
Jacqueline McNamee.
Chris Regan. Jesse Reynolds.
Amy Walsh here.
Bob Gross.
Craig Fishbein.
Okay, I just want to spend one quick minute on what's coming up and what it looks like, and then we'll get right to the applications. The meeting schedule that we have shows that the next meeting is March 29. That agenda is out. April 3, that agenda is not out, and then it jumps to April 18. We tried to get a date last time in between April 3 and April 18. I just want to try it again to see if we can fill in a date. So let's go back to the week of April 3, which I'm showing as a Monday. Is it possible for anyone who cannot do the 5th, 6th, or 7th?
I can't do the 7th.
I can't do the 7th.
Can't do the 7th?
7th.
Okay, is the 6th?
I cannot do the 6th.
How about the 5th? Is someone not able to do the 5th? So we'll put it down
5th.
April 5, Wednesday.
I should be fine.
Should be fine. Everyone should be fine. Rob, April 5.
Wait,
Yeah,
we?
I have that available currently.
That was a yes, I think. So we'll just schedule a meeting for
Yes.
April 5. So we go April 3, April 5, and then we jump to April 17. So that's all I wanted to cover there on that.
6:30.
What's the first meeting?
April.
3?
Yes.
3 and 5.
Yeah, April
Monday,
3,
Wednesday.
5,
I was gonna say.
3, 5, and 18. I don't know what I said. 3, 5, and 18. April 18, right?
So
Okay,
3, 5, and 18.
These are tentative based whether we're still meeting. These are tentative whether we still meet, right?
yeah, we're just lining them up to reserve them on the calendar. So very quickly, here's what it looks like. As far as the nonprofits go, we might be able to finish, subject to a discussion, which we'll have after we do some applications as people are here. We might be able to finish the nonprofits in one more meeting. That's assuming that we offload some of the more complicated ones to the town council, not to be discussed now. Let's wait till we get through the applications. On the businesses, that looks like it's going to be a meeting and a half with the number that we have left. A meeting and a half after starting on April 3. So remember, the 29th is spoken for. So starting on April 3, that's what I'm talking about. Maybe like 3 meetings left, something like that. Okay.
do we know how many applications, if any, the UHY still has that are not in the portal? Because you're going off the portal, right?
Going off the portal, I mean, we've lined up on our randomized list, everything that's available to us.
The
And
only
that's what we're
thing,
going off of.
the only thing that hasn't been added to the list was Lenny's that got tacked on at the end. That's the very end.
Yeah.
That's the very last
Yeah.
business.
So everything that UHY had is in the portal or in cyberspace.
Oh, don't you mean everything that they got that they approved and didn't approve? Or you
I'm just concerned that we say, okay, we're going into this many meetings and then all of a sudden we get 20 more added to Surelink.
Oh, well,
That would only happen if something is triggered from the law department to UHY and they suddenly dump new stuff. But based on what's on the portal now, this is what it looks like.
yeah, this is
Okay.
the remaining report.
Let's get to the application. So we have an applicant here from LJMM Corporation, which we know as Westbrook Lobster House. Amy, that's assigned to you. I guess I need to get my.
Yes, applications, scoring sheets.
There's some down here.
Amy, hold off just 1 second.
And you can stack them like this.
Okay, I'm ready if everyone else is ready.
Okay, so LJMM Corporation is, we all know as Westbrook Lobster. Their application showed significant COVID impact that the other restaurants did. Which hit right as their busy season wraps up in the springtime. They were closed from March 2020 to June 2020, then only takeout and dining. They do have an outdoor dining deck that is not visible from the street. And they are proposing to renovate the outdoor dining area, which got a lot of use. Tax returns show a healthy profit in 2019, and almost the same amount in a loss in 2020 and returning profit in 2021, but not back to pre-pandemic levels. In my mind, the proposal for this business is exactly the kind of project and documentation we'd like to see. There was a detailed construction quote. Additional funds are needed for the project, which they say they will secure separately. So I scored this one high because they demonstrated their degree that they were affected and that they experienced financial adversity. They demonstrated their proposed project will assist the business in long-term recovery. People are interested in outdoor dining in the future. It's not going to go away. And this can be completed within 12 months.
I agree with Amy, except for we just had to pay attention to what they received in PPP money. But that doesn't go on their taxes or anything like that. They received a substantial amount, and they should have received a substantial amount because they have many employees. And they look like they're payroll employees, where we see a lot of businesses that don't have payroll employees, and that's why they don't get PPP. Again, and this is not towards this particular entity or anything like this. This is a lack from the council. We should have been able to see all their ability to receive funding from the feds. They did put on here that they did not receive restaurant revitalization fund, which was good to see that they acknowledged that they applied for it and didn't receive it. The only thing I would be interested in would be employee retention credits. It'd be the only thing left. And because that's could be based on their PPP, could also be a sizable chunk. I'm right on the fence and passing, so, but I'm not. Because I see that this is the kind of business that was substantially impacted by COVID. I would just like, again, wish the council had acknowledged all the abilities to receive aid to these types of businesses, and we saw what they actually received. Thank you.
Craig.
So I agree with everything that was stated. I hate to eat outside at restaurants. Absolutely. I mean, bugs and stuff like that should pay less. But anyway, my only concern, and perhaps not valid, is the 12-month time period. I do like the backup, but it does indicate that permitting is the responsibility of the property owner. I don't know, since it's an outside work and expansion of the facility, whether or not planning and zoning require, there has to be a site plan and all of that, which could be a lengthy process. But that being said, I mean, the town is overseeing this. So I did pass it, but based upon the criteria, it just passes on my score.
I have nothing to add. I gave it a passing grade.
It's a restaurant. I appreciate and respect Bob's interjection about the PPP. This is a classic case in this industry in terms of being really affected negatively in terms of business, customers, return customers. I gave it a fairly strong score. I thought it was a well-done application. They were very thorough, provided detail. So yeah, for me, it's a strong pass.
Jackie?
I agree with Amy and Carl, and I gave it a high pass.
Chris?
I support the application. Couple of things. Note, this is already under contract. Based on Attorney Small's comments last night, a little bit of a concern about the bidding process going forward, but that's not for us to decide. And so I support it as is.
How could this be already under contract?
They have a bid. They
You
have a-
talk about the 3 verbal quotes?
Yes, I mean, we've got.
Yeah, that,
In the documentation, we have an agreement to move forward by both the construction company and the restaurant itself. The comment of 3 quotes came up due to the threshold being, out there, just raising awareness that can become an issue. Haven't been to the establishment recently, so I don't know if anything has started on site. It's slated to be finished in a couple of weeks, but that may cause a little bit of an issue as far as the town is concerned. Again, not our.
yeah. Jesse?
No, I think enough's been said. I scored it pretty high. I like the backup. I like the fact that it's kind of a place that's visible in town, the upgrades to the outside, all that good stuff. That kind of, piqued my interest, but in general, I thought it was a good application and I scored it high.
Round again, we all set? Do them out, pass them in, okay?
I gotta put my vote in as well.
Sorry,
No, no, it's okay.
No, sorry,
It's okay.
Charlie.
Start over.
You don't have to apologize, please. No, I ditto everybody else's comments, scored it high, passed.
Okay, we're gonna ask for your score first, Rob. Amy's about ready to copy
90.
it down. Rob, your score?
Yeah, yes, a 90.
90 for Rob. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
90. Okay. So, ready? Rob Fritz, 90. Carl Bonamico, 82. Jackie, 90. Chris Regan, 85. Jesse Reynolds, 85. Mike Radinsky, 73. Upgrade 75. Fishbein, 80. Amy Walsh, 92.
So a bit of an explanation on the scoring thresholds. A passing grade, I should have said this in the beginning, but I forgot it. A passing grade is 70. We average the scores. And the average is
83.56.
we're done with Webster Lock. You got you're way above the threshold, so the next step is I'll send a memo to government that we've recommended the application. So our role is done.
Yeah.
Okay, ready to move on? So going down the list, back to micro mod, I have Bob Gross on that.
Give me 1 second so we'll have together. So I had some issues with this one. Based on what we're told from the council, they need to be in business in January of 2019. They registered with the state on 5/13/2019. I have it here. They registered under a different name. Out of a Delaware company. They're listed as a foreign registration, not meaning foreign in country, but foreign that they're not a registered company in Connecticut. They're registered in Delaware. And they did their first Secretary of State with Wyoming. I guess Wyoming has a lot of companies register in Wyoming. And this one registered in Wyoming also. So for those reasons, I can't really pass it, not because they're registered in Delaware. It is a different name, but it's also because based on the criteria council set, unless I'm wrong, I have it here from the Secretary of State. And the reason I looked for it, just so people are aware, when you look at their tax returns, they compare year to year to year, 19, 20 to 21, but there was no 18 listed. And I thought that was odd. So I went back and looked for 18 and there's nothing there. So I went to Secretary of State's site to see if they were registered, and they weren't registered in 18. They were registered in 19. And their principal office address is in Glastonbury, not Wallingford. So this is a manufacturing plant they have here, but it is Wallingford. So for that. Otherwise, if I looked at everything else, they'd be right on the cusp of passing, but I can't pass them because of that.
On their tax returns, it says they were incorporated 1/7/2019.
Right. That is out in Wyoming. But it said January 1st for us, and here it is Secretary of State, 5/13/2019. This is Secretary of State, Connecticut, State Limited Liability Company be transacting business in Connecticut, 5/13/2019. I'm just reading what it says.
We're gonna come back around to that,
And
to
so,
that issue. I just want to get the application, the form. in
so their
front of me, but-
businesses,
Yeah,
their business, they had,
But for that-
there were some issues I had with the business, whereas they're looking to buy additional supplies or additional stock. They have a great amount of stock. They have like $500,000. And also, if you look at their business model, they are running at a loss. They have losses, and they have almost $1 million. I think the last year I saw here, 2021. They're in a whole $1 million. So these were all negatives to me. So I had a hard time doing it because according to the council, if we give them the money, are they going to be able to be sustained? You wouldn't give it to us. That's going under.
so the criteria on
They
the,
have a net negative worth of $1.7 million.
So looking at the gross income reflected in the application reported by the tax return. Doesn't show, it shows $100,000 dip. 1.9 to 1.5 back up to 1.6. I'm looking at the application and how they describe how the pandemic hurt them. And then I'm trying to match that up with what they're looking to spend the money on. And I don't see a link up. Like they're saying they had a problem getting materials, inventory, that kind of stuff. But what they're going to use the money for is not to improve their communications or their lines of getting those or anything like that. It's to buy more inventory. So I don't get the connection, and I did score accordingly.
the eligibility requirements on the town's form says the business existed in January 2019. Just want to get that out. The business existed in January 2019 and is presently operational. What I saw based on the tax returns was a gross that started out in 2019 at 1.8. By the way, it doesn't match the application. The tax return doesn't perfectly match the application, so I'm going off the tax return. So the 1.8 drops to 1.6 in 2020, then it comes back up to 1.8 in 2021. So it looks like to me like this is a business that bounced back. Add into that the PPP, they got 215,000. The federal pay shows the federal pay database shows a little bit more than what was in the application. And then on the tax returns, there's a line about the compensation of officers. In 2019, it was 0, but in 2021, it was 110,000. So I'm putting that all together. The bounce back with respect to the gross, the net was substantially the same as what it was. The net in 2021 was substantially the same as it was in 2019. So take that into account, the PPP into account, the compensation of officers into account. And this does not pass. I'm not sure on a final score, but it doesn't look like it's going to pass. You ready?
Right.
Go.
I've seen a lot of small businesses like this come through with PPP retrieval and receiving PPP money. The revenues did not really reflect, in my mind, a negative adverse effect. I'm gonna not pass this because I don't think it's I don't think it meets our standards, my standards in terms of approval. So I gave a fairly low score.
Jackie?
I agree, but my score did total to a 70.
One more time.
I said I agree, however, when I totaled up my score, it did total to a 70.
Okay, yep.
Still haven't completely decided. It's right at the bubble for me as far as a pass fail. Wish there was something other than a miscellaneous list of items. I wish it was equipment based or tooling or something that was substantial in order for them to continue to manufacture, to do some to do something big instead of just components and piece parts, which they do seem to have on-hand inventory of already. So I'm just finding a hard time doing the justifications personally.
Jesse?
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily, I'm kind of on the fence with this one as well. I echo the comments about the list of inventory. I get what, in reading between the lines, and maybe I shouldn't do that, but initially what it sounds like is in order for this person to kind of, or this company to do what it needs to do, it has to have more stuff up front. And because people are now requiring more payment up front and they're making them buy it in larger quantities, probably as a result of COVID, maybe. I mean, shipping got all thrown off. I don't know. But so I can get that piece of it. What I didn't really get is the economic hardship piece, because it seemed like they were able to kind of make it through with the support, obviously, that they list and document. So it's to me, I think it was more about if they would have had more backup in terms of the amount of stuff they wanted to buy, I would have scored it high. That's really what put it on the fence for me. It was just the lack of the detail. To me, it doesn't matter if it's for little things or a piece of equipment or whatever. If it's to buy 5,000 widgets, I don't care, but just say 5,000 widgets. So that's really where I was on the fence.
Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too worried about the registration issue. They had 2019, they had sales of, close to $2 million. So you don't form a company in May of 2019 and all of a sudden have $2 million in sales so whether they had, and typically you don't make changes like that. Those are planned earlier on. They probably plan to do that even in 2018. It takes time to get all that organization and strategic initiative in order. But anyways, make a long story short, I think that they were impacted. I didn't give them my highest score, but I did give them a score. What these folks spend their money on is their business. As long as I think it's going to help sustain the business going forward and get out of the hole that was created. Granted, they made it through better than some companies, but they still were impacted by COVID. So I gave it a passing score, moderately.
Got it. Amy?
Yeah, like Jesse, they didn't tell a great story. They somewhat described the adversity. They seem to have bounced back pretty well. Would this contribute to their long-term recovery? Maybe, possibly. Not a lot of documentation, just one to buy more parts. Yeah, it's not super compelling. So I'm on the bubble, I'm on the cusp.
Does anyone need a second bite? Are we ready to?
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
want to point out that apparently based upon the application, they got EIDL, which is economic, it's an acronym.
Disaster loan.
Yeah, economic injury disaster loan of $978,000 in May of 2020 and in May of 2021. They got almost $1 million. I mean, based upon that, that's $2 million. That they got, well, you know, so. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. how-
Another bite here then.
Yeah,
And in their defense on this one, I didn't pass them, but in their defense on that one, a lot of companies were going for these EVIL loans because the interest rate was so low. So they were able to grab these, there's probably 3.5% or 4%.
375.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. So for them to get a guaranteed loan, I think it was 1 or 2 year grace period. And then it's a 30-year payback or something. So what some companies were doing, and smartly doing it, was taking these loans to refinance some other loans that might have been, because commercial loans are expensive. So they were refinancing these loans, but they still have to pay this money back. It was more of a business decision on those. It's not like PPP where
But
they were
that's-
forgiven.
but that's a lot of money based upon their gross income. I mean, that's.
Well, I think they had a
I don't
plan,
get bogged down on, you can weight it any way you want.
Yeah,
I mean,
but I'm
Bob
just
said
saying-
It's a loan, it doesn't matter.
but it's a loan that's paid.
It's
that has
financial
to pay back.
assistance in some regard.
Yeah, it is.
So
It's refinancing the loan.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a negative for them.
hopefully you don't buy long-term bonds. Okay, we all set the, pass in the,
Wanna give us some scores?
Rob? Score?
I gave him a 75.
75.
Yes.
No, it's going.
Like I'm gonna accuse myself from Art Helton because he's. Okay. I know this is very well.
Yep.
Oh.
Right, ready?
Ready.
Rob Fritz, oh, somebody else did that. All right, Rob Fritz,
sorry, I-
75. Chris Regan, 68. Jesse Reynolds, 65. Jackie, 70. Carl Bonamico, 62. Mike Bransky, 52. Craig Fishbein, 55. Bob Grove, 60. Amy Walsh, 65. This is a 25,000 request, right?
Yes. 63.56.
So there's two motions. I'm gonna make them separately. We gotta go back to LJMM. Because we didn't make a motion on that. So I make a motion that we recommend an ARPA grant in the amount requested. Is that 25,000? I put my paper. Yeah, in the amount of $25,000 to LJMM Corporation. Seconded by Craig. We'll just go around the table. Mike Berdinsky is a yes.
Carl's a yes.
Jackie, yes.
Chris Regan, yes. Jesse Reynolds, yes.
Amy Walsh, yes.
Bob Gross, yes.
Craig Fishbein, yes.
Rob Fritz, yes. Rob Fritz, yes.
And the second motion is that we not recommend any further favorable action in the matter of Micromod Automation and Controls LLC based upon the average score.
Second.
And let's go around the table again. Mike is yes. Carl?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Bob Gross?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Okay, that takes care
Are
of
you
it.
doing the one on the mic?
Rob Rich, did you vote?
Nope, I didn't, but I'll say yes.
Okay,
Just want to get him in.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to quality used cars. Chris?
We do our.
No,
Our bill.
I'll do.
Our bill.
Or Pelton? Sorry. And Carl, you're recusing, is that true?
Yes,
Okay.
accusing from our tools, you want me to step away?
No, because I think this is an incomplete application unless there's a reason to disagree with that. And if it's incomplete application, we can just go to a vote right away. Everyone see it that way? The tax returns aren't there. So I make a motion that we recommend no further favorable action in the matter of R. Pelton Tools LLC on the grounds that neither tax returns nor a CPA issue, profit and loss, accompanies the application.
Second.
Mike is yes. Carl?
Yes.
yes,
Chris?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
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 That's unanimous. That's our
Yes.
Pelton. Jeez.
That's okay. Yes.
I'm gonna put a big picture of Rob Fritz in the chair
No,
opposite me.
You don't want to
so
do that. I'm looking at a picture of you on my screen here. That's all I see. So.
See, Rob, if you had sent us brownies, we wouldn't have forgotten about you.
All right, now we're heading over to quality used cars, and that's Chris Reardon.
Just so you know. I'm just passing.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
All right, quality used cars. Used car dealer on Penn Highway, been in business for 12 years at the same location, service and sales of used vehicles. Has not, at least on from an income side of things, seen an appreciable loss of revenue as far as sales goes, but their application is ineligible partly for a couple of reasons. One, UHY as well as the rules state that loan repayments are not allowed as part of ARPA funds. Their total request was $25,000 of a $67,000 program, which mostly consisted of cost of goods sold loan, repayments in the term of quite a bit of money. What is allowed for ARPA is the $6,000 rent and the $3,000 vendor bills, vendor reimbursements, however that's set up, bringing the total to a $9,000 max allowable request. They also state they're setting aside some of these funds for an emergency. So I'm having a problem as far as you got a loan repayment, fine, and then you've got some other dollars for rent and for vendors, but setting aside for rainy day funds, those types of things are not in the spirit of the ARPA application. I think we should take a look from a merit standpoint. They were thorough in providing tax returns and the required documentation for everything but the details as to how this would be used. And if we were to vote on it, it would be at a reduced amount, no more than $9,000.
Jesse?
Yeah, I didn't get to that level of detail, which I appreciate. Because I did have sort of a problem with understanding how $25,000 was seated in the 67,000 and then 50,000 of it being, something that they weren't able to pay. So, or use the money for, and I wasn't sure about the PPP part either. So to me, considering on the merits of a reduced amount, I wouldn't necessarily have a problem, but I don't know if I would pass it anyway, because Oh, I'm not sure, but up until this point, in considering the full application, I didn't score it very high because it wasn't very clear to me. So I guess that's the short version of what I should have said.
Amy?
Yeah, I had a problem with the lack of clarity in the application. It's hard to tease out exactly what was usable under ARPA rules and what wasn't and the whole thing. I felt like it was a temporary fix. I'm not sure how it's gonna help them, with the business model, and I was a bit confused because used cars were selling like hotcakes during the pandemic, so I was confused by that, so I did not score it high based on lack of clarity in the application.
Oh,
I have to agree with everything you said before, and I didn't pass them. Their sales were up. I didn't like this. They said they received the PPP loan, but they didn't put the amount down. I know it says it was a bad loan. But did they receive anything?
Maybe that was because they didn't have employees. They reported 0 employees, so.
Yeah, so I don't know what the reason was
Yeah.
they didn't get the loan. I know cabbage is no longer. Chris wants to, hey, say it.
I'm just, if they had to repay a loan, they had to receive funds of some type. So it's still in the spirit of a repayment of a loan, fraudulent or not, or partial or not. They're asking for those funding to go there. So outside of the 9,000, I just can't see.
Oh, I can't, and I can't give the money either because you don't know where that. If you give the 9,000, where's that money gonna go? How are you gonna track that? It was too complicated for the whole thing. They should have narrowed it down, put it for something else. Okay, I can pass it.
Greg?
Unfortunately, based upon the application, I couldn't pass it. Based upon the numbers, how do you score 30 bucks? Anything more than like a 5, because it shows that, well, I gave it a 5. I mean, it shows that they had income increase during, all that period of time. To Amy's credit, cars were selling like hotcakes. So how do you get to the degree that the pandemic created or contributed to a financial adversity when none is shown? So I scored accordingly. I'm sure that someone will use it against me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm looking at the numbers from the tax returns and from 2019 to 2021, there's substantial growth in the gross. So I can't find a hardship here. I see a business that's been growing all along. Carl?
Don't have much to add. Yes, used cars, dealers did well during the pandemic because we discussed. To me, it was not a pass.
Jackie?
I'm along the same lines with everybody. I would agree with Chris, that if we did the 9,000, then that would make more sense, because that would, go to what ARPA can go to. However, the rest of the funds aren't approved by ARPA.
I get Rob.
Rob, have you weighed in?
No, I haven't, but I agree. Everybody made great comments. I agree with the lower value, and I agree that the hardship cases is hard to determine based on the financials that they've submitted. So I agree. I gave it a passing, but by the skin of their teeth.
Do you have your score now? And Amy will start locking it in.
It's 70.
70. Okay, let's mark them up, sign them.
Those two.
I just signed my name on Rob.
Signature.
All right, got everybody? Okay, quality used cars, Jesse Reynolds, 50. Chris Regan, 50. Rob Fritz, 70. Chris Fine, 31. Gross, 35. Amy Walsh, 33. Jackie, 60. Carl Blonico, 60. Mike Rudinsky, 27.
By the way.
Make yourself comfortable.
46.22.
So I make a motion based upon the average score that we recommend no further favorable action in the matter of Quality Used Cars LLC.
Second.
Based upon.
Well, I think I added in the average score, but
46.22.
yeah. Okay, we'll go around the table. Mike is yes. Carl?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
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 Okay. That motion.
Yes. Yes.
Gotcha.
Piece of paper.
You need a
There's for
picture.
the mic that says Rob.
Yeah. The next one is Tee It Up,
No, I'm out.
and Craig Fishbein was recusing. Any other recusals for the rest of the night, by the way? Anybody have any?
Parent and parent. You know,
Which one?
parent and parent.
Oh, parent and parent, yep. Okay.
All right.
Ready?
Yep, sorry, I was pulling up stuff. Okay, so Tee It Up. Tee It Up is a business that does, they list their services, custom embroidery, traditional screen printing, transfer sublimation printing, ASI promotional sales. They've been in Wallingford for 27 years. They've been in their current location 18. They had 6 employees in 19 and they've gone up to 8. This includes the owner. I've been involved with Wallingford Soccer League. We've done, they did business with Tee It Up. You know, I know of the company. They basically were hit by the pandemic in a way that a lot of these type of businesses were, where things slowed down because the consumers went away. You know, they didn't have as much business with, you know, printing for, you know, field day and all these other things that probably they would have been able to do. Plus other business, other printing type stuff kind of dried up. And as a result, they ended up having to lay off folks. And then once they were able to get back in going, they weren't able to get folks back. So really, you know, that's the gist of sort of what they're looking to do. Financially, they, you know, just looking at the gross income on the application, they went from 869K in 2019 down to 568K in 2020, which is a substantial drop. You know, you're talking nearly 50%. But then they came back up to 826K in 2021. Which is less than, but on par with 2019. So that is good news, but at the same time, their application states that they have other problems. They list the PPP loans that they got. They provided information on the loan that they paid back with interest already, the EIDL loan. It was for only 8,000, so it wasn't like other applications where we saw, you know, 2 million. They're looking for 25,000, and primarily they want to use it for employment. It says that COVID-19 disrupted their staff and they want to add people back in 2023. This will not cover the full plan, but it'll be helpful. The budget justification would be a 100K plan, of which 25K ARPA would be applied to the overall budget. And they are ready to go, they say, in January 2023 to December 2023. My overall impression was I understand where they're coming from here. I truly get it. Where I started to kind of get a little bit lost, and again, this isn't necessarily I don't think it's necessarily a limitation of the application, but it's a limitation in me trying to understand the financial aspects of it. There's a ton of stuff in their taxes that I don't think should have been there, including information about their kids and other stuff. There's information about loans that are awards for college and all this other stuff, and none of it was redacted. So I basically looked at a bunch of stuff that's about people's families, and I kind of have a problem with that. And I don't know who was in charge of what was supposed to be redacted, but if my kid's social security number got shared and I download, and then some guy on a committee downloaded it to his laptop and left it there, potential for some sort of theft to occur of my son's identity as well as my wife's identity as well as my other son's identity, and there's 2 kids listed in it. So that all being said, I had a hard time sort of going through all the tax information, including there were W-2s listed for people that work that are part of the owners. Like, I don't want to know what their side jobs are. Like, to me, again, this is, so that being said, this is why I had some difficulty with this application, because when I started looking into the information that was provided, it was hard to find a lot of the details that I needed, specifically about the business. That's the point I'm trying to get to. So in general, my impression was that I did not give it a, I'm on the fence with this one, frankly speaking, I'm on the fence.
Rob?
Well, I mean, I think that they were, again, maybe I'm not quite as detailed as some of the rest of you. I try to look at it from maybe a 50,000 point view, but they were impacted. I think that they were, they're a good company in the community. I think this money is going to be invested into their business to help them pull out of what was impacted by COVID. So I scored it reasonably well. I passed it.
Amy?
Yeah, I understand their impact, because of COVID, their sales to their primary audience of schools and teams and things like that have been impacted. They are coming back, looking to add employees. I just hope that more employees equals more work done equals more revenue. And some budget, but not a lot of detail. I kind of dinged them on that, but overall, I gave them a passing score.
Question, can anybody tell me what their net income was for 2019?
Maybe.
Based on the application and the
Yeah.
tax return.
I have 92,928.
Okay. All right.
93.
Yes, right here on this page. I just want to make sure that was, because that's about what it was in 21. So that I'm on the fence too, because they received money from PPP, and to Jesse's point, that was their flaw. They're supposed to redact information.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's kind of off point.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have spent that much time on it.
The dollar amounts, they're almost back to where they were. So I'm impressed because they did receive some PPP money, and it seems that they have increased employees. So that's affecting payroll also, because they're paying more, and they've gone from 5 or 6 up until it comes to 8. And so they have increased employees, which increases expenses, taxes, etc. And yet their profit is back to where it was in 19. And they did receive PPP. So I'm right on the fence. Somebody can convince me to go out and make that jump.
Craig recused, so I see it sort of the same way that Bob and others have. The numbers in 2021 are just slightly below what they were, the gross I'm getting at. In 2021, just slightly below what they were in 2019. There's a lot of reasons why business gross numbers go up or down. The net was a little bit below, the net in 2021 was a little bit below 2019, but they got 110,000 in PPP, which probably made it whole. But this is very close to the edge, and I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt, barely a passing grade, but I did give it a passing grade. Carl?
They had a 34.5% decrease in 2020. I thought the application explained it very well, very fairly detailed for me. It was a passing score for me, but not a strong passing score. I think certainly they received some PPP money. They injected it the way they should have back into the business. I thought it met my standards and threshold for a passing score.
Jackie?
I agree with Carl, just based upon the 2020 significant loss in their income, and knowing, that everything was pretty much shut down for schools and colleges, et cetera. And I give them a passing score.
Chris?
This is just barely a pass for me. Nothing else further than that. It's already been said.
Rob, you weighed in, didn't you?
I did already, yes.
For the-
Yeah, okay, we all set.
What's the restaurant score? You want to-
Rob, do you have a score for us?
80.
Okay.
Okay, ready, tee it up. Chris Regan, 70. Rob Fritz, 80. Betsy Reynolds, 70. Amy Walsh, 75. Bob Gross, 65. Jackie, 80. Carl Bonico, 79. Mike Brzezinski, 72. So there's.
Yep.
Six.
Yeah. 73.88.
So based on the average score of 73.88, I make a motion that we recommend further favorable action in the matter of Tee It Up LLC.
I second that motion.
Mike is a yes. Carl,
Yes.
around?
Yes.
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 Yes,
Fishbein recuse.
Yes, Fritz.
Fritz,
Yes.
We are all set on Tee It Up. Next is Ultra Coin 2. Hold on 1 second.
What am I looking at? I can't find your guys. No, I want them. W2.
hey Dave. There's cookies.
Okay, Carl, you ready?
Yes, small business formed in April 2018. Their income as they started out in 2019 was, fairly low, $63,000. A lot of this type of business is heavily invested in machinery and appliances. Even though the application does not, depict it was personal expenses, but it on this size of small businesses, it likely is personal resources. They took a very significant loss in 106, went up to 155, again, continue with the loss. And then they picked up in 21, picked up the business to 236. Again, if you look at the depreciation, each of those years reflect machinery and assets. Did a fairly decent job. The accountant prepared it, provided some requests, and they downloaded photo of the equipment that they plan to purchase. Not a lot of detail, but when I look at the tax return, and this is what is being heavily weighted in my decision, I give it a low passing score.
Jackie?
Can you come back to me? All right.
Chris?
And I like the fact that they provided, to the suite, they need 2 washing machines. They provided, rough estimate of pricing, et cetera, for it. I don't think there's any question that they were impacted, probably the wrong time to start a business. And, for that location, et cetera, but I'll pass this point.
Jesse?
Kind of on the fence with it, only because I guess the application and the taxes are a little bit confusing to me, because I don't know. Yeah, I'm on the fence. I'll let everybody else talk about it, and if I have anything else to say, I'll on then.
Yeah, likewise, I was confused by this application and the taxes and separating it out from the other one. But provided that is all straightforward, Yeah, they seem to have an impact, so. And we appreciate that they provided the equipment detail that they were looking to purchase. Low pass.
Bob?
I saw a business that was growing. I mean, the write-offs for depreciation are normal business expenses. Didn't affect it's a tax code allowable production, but doesn't affect, you take it out of there, its profit was growing. And that's the way I look at it. I understand he's gonna buy more machines in the future, but that's what depreciation is for. So I'm on the fence. I'm just below passing on this one at this point.
I'm having trouble getting it to the 70, frankly, based upon the application and the numbers. I mean, the application doesn't match the tax return. So one was, well, I question how those numbers came to be. Quite frankly, I read the tax returns as being more imperiled business than the application reflects. You know, certainly it's not a temporary fix if we were to permit the purchase of the washing machine. Is that, I guess, question, the application is for just the washing, machine, right? Two, yeah, so. I'm still wrestling with this one based upon what we have, so that's all I got.
So the issue, of course, is whether they're experiencing an existing hardship or financial adversity caused by the pandemic, or whether the pandemic contributed. I always go to the numbers first. And what I'm seeing in the numbers is pre-pandemic, there was a loss of 106,000. In the midst of the pandemic, less of a loss, but still a loss, 40,000. And in 2021, business income of 8,000. All the while, there's substantial amounts of depreciation, which is not an actual cost, expense. It's a paper expense. So for example, in 2021, depreciation is $85,000, and in subsequent years, it's similar numbers. Just so add that amount into their bank account, and I don't see a business in distress. I see a cash cow. That's what I see, and so I'm not near a passing grade on this one. Carl.
I expressed my.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Rob. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with everybody's previous comments. I gave it a barely passing grade, but yeah, so I agree. I have nothing to add to that. Everybody
Okay.
else's comment.
Your score, Rob?
70.
Okay.
Right, we get more money from the depreciation.
Yeah. That's basis.
Well, that we can look at. Right, but.
Ready? Bob Gross, 60. This is ultra chlorine laundromat number 2.
Right.
You got 60. Jesse Reynolds, 70. Andy Walsh, 77. Chris Regan, 75. Rob Fritz, 70. Carbonica 73. Jackie 70. Mike Karinsky 56. And Fishbein 65.
$68.44.
Would you say that score again?
68.44.
6, right? 6, 8.
68.44.
So based on the average score of 68.44, I make a motion that we recommend no further favorable action in the matter of Ultra Coin Laundromat number 2.
Second.
Let's go around the table. Mike is yes.
Carl's, yes?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Yes,
Chris?
Okay.
yes, that's okay. Got to freaking bring
Well, that's
brownies.
what we
next
do.
time.
There you go. Your way to draw it?
We should have one of those
Yeah.
face posts, so that way Rob.
And I could have had a nice
We
steak
can have a
dinner tonight
visual.
instead
There you
of-
go. A
I could have had a
blank.
nice steak dinner tonight
Why don't
instead
you-
of my. meeting.
Maybe a green would be good.
I don't have a big magic marker.
Put a cookie in front of it and then you'll remember.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure you give me more hair than I really have, please.
Yeah, it's just a red folder.
It's just a folder, Rob, so
Okay, okay.
pretty neutral.
Out of sight, out of mind.
There you go.
Okay, Ultra Coin, number 1, it's a similar laundromat business, but the financials look a bit different to me on this one.
No,
You know,
we did that.
run
We
Kodiak.
did 2 Kodiak.
Yeah.
We did 2. We're on
What about number 1?
We're on number 1.
number 1.
Yeah, that's what you said. Ultra Coin one.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's 2.
Is that on the agenda?
Yeah,
yeah, it's on the revised agenda. I added it in red.
it's the one that's on North Main Street.
Right.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
Oh,
856
that was
North Main.
the volume.
So, it's been closed recently and I don't know if that's worth a condition, to make sure that it is open. It could be closed for temporary repairs or something like that, but it is closed right now. They're looking for a grant of, I believe it's the full 25,000. If someone check me, yeah, they are. And I look at their backup and I note that one washing machine would, or the washing machine that I looked at was $16,700. And because it looks like the business largely bounced back to me, an ARPA grant of $16,705 would get a higher score than the full 25,000. The numbers in the application, in my notes, they seem to square with what the tax return said. And they made more in 2021 and as far as gross than they did pre-pandemic. So I note that they're doing better than they did pre-pandemic. They got a small PPP loan of 7,000. And so I would suggest to everyone in your comments, consider the cost of one washing machine of $16,705, which is what they itemized. Yeah.
So there's application 1 and Ultra Coin 1 and 2.
2 separate businesses.
There's two separate businesses, 2 separate tax returns, two separate everything.
But on the app, unless I'm looking at the wrong, I'm looking at.
In one of the applications, if you click on it. it's
Hold
gonna
on one
show-
sec. Let's do this. Let's switch the order. Give you guys a couple minutes to look at it. All right.
Okay.
And then, looks like Bob is ready to go.
No, what Jackie's saying, because one of them, they have both tax returns in the same one, so she might open the same tax return for 1 and 2.
Yeah,
that's exactly what's happening.
Just needs to go to the
Okay.
other tax.
But we'll give him some time. Actually, Chris, are you ready to fly on this one?
I mean, I'll go and then
Well-
for this one,
Or which one? What do you got?
Or this is Ultra One.
he's just looking at it now.
Yeah, I have a long agenda in front of me, so I didn't have this one.
Same.
So let's just go around this one.
You are ready?
No,
Oh, okay.
So they're reviewing it for the first time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my concern is if we do that, which I'm certainly open to. We are purchasing something that the other entity has sought for another location,
Mhm.
and we are anticipating that this washing machine is going to be put at a location that is currently closed. So we would have to fashion that in a manner so that we are only authorizing that for a washing machine at the particular facility that this particular entity operates.
Hmm.
Because because I wouldn't want them to, oh, well, I got the money, I have this other laundry, place, and that's what we was gonna do, and I'm gonna put it at my other place. We've already rejected that.
These are
Well-
two separate businesses, so.
But
that would be like-
they're owned by the same person.
True, but that would be like, you know,
I think,
two separate.
No, but I think
businesses.
we would have to fashion it in such a way that, I mean, the tax returns are mixed up, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think in our due diligence, if we've already rejected a washing machine for this other facility that is operated basically the same sort of business, operated by the same people, that if we're gonna approve this, that it would be contingent upon that location opening and that location having this washing machine.
Why do you think this location is closed?
Well,
went by there.
based on what I know on that, they had a fire. That is what I remember reading in the record journal. For what
Okay.
that's worth.
All right.
They-
Why I would be in support,
So
we're gonna do
be
that.
specific as to what you're looking for. It could be a condition of approval, but frankly, I think the law department has got to control that to make sure a particular business uses the asset in that business. And that's kind of beyond
That's their.
range, beyond our reach.
However,
Yeah.
we don't know that the law department is aware of the intricacies, that there are two businesses that operate at two locations that are operated by two different,
So here's what I could do. I don't want to overcomplicate it. I could put an asterisk on the whatever and just say, please note 2 separate locations, 2 businesses, so on. I mean, I could ask.
or to only be used at this particular address.
Yeah.
I mean,
I,
something like,
I
so that would be my only concern.
wouldn't be a formal condition of approval, it'd be an asterisk on that. To make you happy.
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
will go on this.
Who's next? Because we're a little bit out of order.
Well, I can go. I'm on the cusp too, because the business has come back, just as the other one has come back. Unfortunately, I think if I remember correctly, this one had a fire. I don't know the severity of it or anything of that nature. I just remember reading something in the paper. I was just gonna look it up again. But, so I'm right on the cusp with this one again, same as the other ones, just because they have come back from the lows of the pandemic to back to where they were in 19 or better.
Okay.
Yep.
Who's ready? They didn't
I'm
go
ready.
yet. Rob, did you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, they were impacted by the COVID. I know that the revenue has certainly bounced back, but they were still impacted. Without that impact, they may have bounced back even further. So I gave it a passing score, a moderate passing score,
Okay. Carl.
nothing more than that.
Okay.
In my opinion, judgment doesn't change very much from the previous location. It's a low passing score. Understand about the depreciation. It's added back to the income. It is part of the tax law benefit. This, in my opinion, definitely has some adverse, not as strongly as I would have expected based on the returns I see. Very low passing.
Jackie?
I did give it a passing score, but I'm not a very high passing score.
Chris?
to Carl and Jackie's sentiments. I'm a low pass.
Jesse, did you?
Yeah, no, So. When I was sort of getting set up here, did you propose that we would reduce from 25 to 16 and score on that, or was that a suggestion, or what are we talking about?
Well, if anyone if there's sufficient interest in that, we can revisit it.
So to me, it's sort of the same as the last one in terms of the way that my grade, that my score would go. I would score it higher if it was for the reduced amount. You know, because if that makes any difference.
It's Rob, you have to say something?
Yeah. Yeah, Mike, if I could just make a quick comment, I'm sorry to interrupt, but remember that if you're gonna reduce the value of their request, consider that the price they gave you for the wash machine is to purchase the wash machine. You still have taxes, you still have shipments, and that shipping cost for something that large and that heavy can be $1,000 or $2,000. It can be very substantial. Just keep that in mind when you're looking at at reducing, if you are going to consider reducing the value.
Okay. Has everyone gone? Any second bites of the apple? Ready to go? Score them, sign them. Rob, your score?
An 80.
Okay. Sheets?
This one was open.
Yeah.
One.
Ready?
Okay, ready? Rob Britt's 80, it's Ultra Coin Laundromat number 1. Jesse Reynolds 75. Chris Regan 72. Lee Walsh 75. Girl 65. Carl Rico 70. Jackie 75. Wait a minute. All right. You have a different name on yours. Can I change it to?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Did you?
Good, I was excited.
Mike Brinsky 72. Rick Fishbein 55.
$71.00.
The previous score was on the other laundromat was 73, I believe, right?
68.44.
Just below.
Very interesting.
Standard deviation.
So
Based on the average score of 71, I make a motion that we recommend further favorable action in the amount of, it was 25,000, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, in the amount of 25,000 in the matter of Ultra Coin Laundromat number 1.
Second that motion.
Go around the table. Mike is a yes.
Carl is a yes.
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 yeah,
Yeah. Yes.
Rob.
Yes.
That covers it.
That's the purity of the process. The fact that those two applications, right?
That was very precise. Weighted average worked beautifully. I mean. Yeah, they're.
You should hear Mike.
Yeah, what business, we may take you out of order. See, we just handled you. One up, one down. If you, passing score for businesses is 70. One of the Ultra Coins got a 68 or something close to that, did not pass. The other one was just above and did. All right, so that handles that. Hang around, bring pizza, whatever. Kodiak, okay, that's the next one. All right. Okay, are we all set on Kodiak here? All set to go? All right, this is mine, I guess.
It's all number one.
So in the matter of Kodiak Athletics, first I could hit the numbers and then some comments. Based on the tax returns, I'm seeing a gross that grew from 2019 from 195 and change to 243. They started out in 2019 with a loss, a little less of a loss in 2020, a little less of a loss in 2021. I see that their wages that they paid over that time span, the wages paid went up from 19,000 to 40,000. Their repairs costs went up a little bit. Their sales and promotion costs went up. It looks like their auto expense went up. Maybe there's a company car involved, but the auto expense went up in 2021. This is a fitness industry, and in my view, it benefits from a presumption that fitness industries, restaurants, personal care services, travel, there's others in that category, but it benefits in my view from a presumption that the pandemic hit these kinds of industries disproportionately hard. So despite the fact that the business is growing, and that's really a good thing, and has grown with respect at least to the gross, they're close to they're not out of the woods because of the industry they're in. So I gave them a passing score despite the growth in the gross sales. That's all I got on this one, Tell for now. Carl?
I agree with all of that, Mike, particularly about the, if you could consolidate that type of industry, this, the personal care industry, fitness industry, travel industry, I think, were most egregiously affected. My score reflects that. I gave a very reasonable score for favorable.
Yep.
outcome.
Jackie?
I agree.
That's it. Rob?
Yeah, I agree with all your comments. I gave it a passing score as well.
Okay, Chris?
Not sure what we're approving. 25,000, 24,291.
Let's double check that. About the application.
And then says that. So I like the level of detail.
Yep.
Everything that Jim would be. For this, for building, I gave it a strong pass from just a point of what exactly we're approving here. Is it the ask on the top of the application, or is it the itemized list?
So let's go.
I did not verify the math.
I didn't verify the math. I didn't run an adding machine tape on it.
Amount of funding requested, total cost of project, 25,000.
That's what I saw, but the question is raised, is that square? I think the question you're raising is that.
Cost for equipment is 24,291.96.
But this is Connecticut plus 6.5%.
Tax.
Oh,
Right, tax.
Give that.
from you.
I think that's a lot, Parker. That's a contract issue,
Yeah,
But
supply
we're-
receipts if you spent.
let's take it that it's a 25,000, because a law department, when they get the three quotes, the three verbal quotes, so on and so forth, it may be less than that or more than that. Yeah.
Items less than the dollar amount, or there's three quotes necessary for one purchase of a $725 machine. I'm splitting hairs, strong math. No, I just want to understand.
Understood. No,
We're rounding up.
Yeah, that's a good, I guess what I'm saying, I'm not that worried about it, because when it comes time to go to the law department, enter into a contract, they're gonna have to have quotes or paperwork backing up the things they want to do. If it comes up to, let's make a number up, 24,000, so it's gonna be. So. Jesse, did you weigh in?
No, I haven't. It's a pass for me. I appreciated the detail in terms of the description of what they wanted to purchase. I didn't catch the difference in cost, but I'm assuming it's the full 25,000.
Yeah, the paperwork will reflect that.
Yeah. And Yeah, no, I mean, they, you know, they took a hit and backed them up a good building, and I understand the need to put and stuff.
Amy?
Good story. Appreciate the quote, the item quotes and good application. So I passed.
Bob Gross?
I'll just concur and I passed it.
Craig?
So I concur that this industry was hit very hard. My question though is, you know, they represent that they loaned out equipment to members. And that the equipment got damaged and we are replacing their equipment. I don't know what damage you can do to a 30-pound hex dumbbell that would require it to be replaced. So, you know, there's a whole list of dumbbells here. I understand the, you know, the equipment, the rowers and all that stuff, you know, and I'll give you credit for the representation, but how do you I mean, I had a totally empty basement when COVID started. Now I have a basement full of gym equipment and I use it a lot. So why are we arguably replacing it? So I did pass it. It just made it, but it looks like I don't know. I have difficulty linking that up.
Okay.
Ready to pass them in? We are.
We get a score from you, Rob?
Number 80, please.
80?
Yes, please.
Yep.
Jackie 100. Carl Nico 79. Mike Verdinsky 79. Ted Fishbein 70. Amy Walsh 90. Bob Gross 75. Freegan 80. I think this is you.
Yeah.
Rob Fritz is 80. And Jesse Reynolds is 75.
You can put Jesse's name on that
I will.
score sheet if it's not there.
It's amazing way to use school.
That's not.
Statistics was my worst grade, so my
80.89.
So based on that average score of 80.89, I make a motion that we recommend further favorable action in the amount of $25,000 in the matter of Kodiak Athletics.
Second.
Go around the table. Mike is yes.
Carl is a yes.
Jackie, yes.
Yes, yes. Jesse, yes.
Amy, yes.
Bob is yes.
Craig is yes.
And Rob.
Rob is yes.
Okay. Next is parent and parent. Craig, you're recusing on parent and parent?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, you guys ready?
Rob, parent and parent is you.
Yes. Okay. So Parent and Parent is a law firm, as they've been established in Wallingford for 15 years. They catered their business plan during COVID or pre-COVID was catering to clients pre-IRS and high-value tax resolutions. During COVID, they lost a substantial amount of their business due to a lot of the issues going on at the IRS. They had employed 18 people in 2019. They went remote in 2020, and with the loss of business, they are employing 3 people currently. They did have some PPP loans of $263,000 and 264,000 in 2019 and 2020. They had an EDL loan of about $500,000. They are really looking to reestablish their business and realign it in a different direction. They want to get back and convert more to a tax advisory firm. So they would like to kind of reestablish themselves a little bit. They do have some payments in arrears in their mortgage, and some payments due to Connecticut of about $4,000. So and they took some substantial losses in their business. Revenue dropped from 2 million in 2019 to 1.3 and change in 2020, and down to a little less than 800,000 in 2021. And their income dropped to a low of almost 400,000 as reported on their 2020 tax returns. So they obviously were significantly hit by COVID. They are trying to reestablish themselves in a different direction. They need to hire an accountant. They want to get somebody in the building. And although an accountant, a salary typically will run in $100,000 range to start, they want to use this 25,000 toward that to try to get this business reestablished. So I scored it a pass. I think that it was obvious that COVID decimated this business, and they are trying to get themselves out of it. I think they had a pretty substantial business prior. Now that the IRS has hired 80,000 employees, I suspect that the IRS will be back in business very shortly, and I think that will bode well for their business. And I think since they were successful in the past, I have confidence that they'd be successful in the future. So I gave this a passing grade. I think the 25,000 will go a long way to helping them out.
Good. Jesse?
It was clearly and very detailed, and it stated that, you know, how they were impacted by COVID. There's no question that the business took a hit. It's evidence in the number of employees, it's evidence in the reduction in their gross income. They did get, some assistance, but I mean, in general, it doesn't necessarily make up for the fact that, they're having to pivot. I think, they'll be asked for additional information about who they intend to hire in the job description a little bit more than this, if this were to go through. So that's something that they should be aware of. Other than that, no, I mean, aside from the lack of detail, I gave it a pass.
Yeah, it's a pivot. They experienced adversity due to the pandemic. I hope the pivot will be successful for them. Not a lot of documentation, more like a business plan, but that's kind of the nature of what they're looking to do. And as far as whether they can do it within 12 months, I know sometimes hiring can be tough, so I hope that they can hire someone within the time frame, or hire all the people they want to hire.
Bob Gross.
I have two issues with this one. I agree with what they're saying up to this point, but I have two issues. One is that they didn't have a clean certificate from the state of Connecticut. I know he says it's only a certain dollar amount.
But they did. The DRS letter that they supplied was.
But the clean, I'm not so sure.
They said as their application that they in arrears. But then their DRS letter. So
it's February 23, so.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That must have been what I read in there. The pivot doesn't look like it's going well, but I understand they got hit hard. I agree with Amy on that. So whether they can do it or not, I don't know if they're throwing away good money for bad money here. 25,000 on a $2 million or $1 million business isn't that much. To hire somebody, if you're hiring somebody, that person should be bringing, especially if it's an accountant or somebody like that. You're hiring it for a specific reason that you need that accountant. You're not hiring that person to have them sit there for a month and pay them $10,000 for 2 months. There must be a need for it, and hopefully there's revenue coming in. So those are, I'm right on the cusp of this one. I mean, I could see the pass on this one.
Craig is recused. For me, the drop in the numbers are just too compelling, so I gave him a passing grade. I don't have any other detail to add what everyone else said.
In my opinion, when you look at that kind of a steep decline, it overshadows every detail that you could possibly, they were extremely affected from 19 from 19 to 20. And they still haven't recovered. They're trying to get back, they're re-strategizing their model. This is one of my strongest scores, 87.
Jackie?
I agree with what Jesse and Carl said.
Okay, Chris?
So I'm a little concerned about the 2020 tax returns. First, it's a copy that was not filed. And there's 2 pages of comments about incomplete data being part of the 2020 return. Self-prepared because that's the business that they were in. I don't know anything about this organization. I wish them well. And I see that they did have a significant impact. I'm just a little concerned, given that there is a significant amount of credit card debt. There's an SBA loan that's still outstanding. As per the balance sheets in 2021, I wish we had a little bit better insight into 2022. And if they have been able to recover, but without that information, I think it's just on the threshold for me. I need to be swayed one way or the other.
Anyone for second bite? We all set? Let's score them, sign them.
What did Rob, score?
Rob?
90.
It's next up.
No.
So sorry. Look past my bedtime.
All right, I think we got everybody. One last thing. Ready? Chris Regan, 65. Rob Fritz, 90. Carl Bonico, 87. Jackie, 85. Mike Berdinsky, 76. Buck Gross, 80. Amy Welch, 78. Reynolds, 75.
$79.5.
So based on the average score of 79.5, I make a motion that we recommend further favorable action in the amount of $25,000 in the matter of Parent and Parent LLP.
Second motion.
Go around the table. Mike, is it yes?
Carl is a yes.
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 Yeah.
Rob?
Rob is a yes.
Okay, everyone's in and Craig has recused. Okay. We all set? Showstopper is the next one, but I'm showing that it's incomplete in that I didn't see a 2019 tax return. Did anybody
Yeah, it's just a transfer.
see that?
I mean, I'm prepared to score it even, I mean. But yeah, there is no tax return.
I think we
Appears
need
to be
to,
a 2019 transcript.
let me just,
That was assigned to me, so I looked.
oh, I'm sorry.
No, I looked at it
Yeah.
a little bit closer than I
Yeah.
have with other stuff, and you'll see. Right here, here's the transcript.
Yeah, that's not a return.
Great.
Yeah, so I think being consistent with our policy, I make a motion that we take no further favorable action in the matter of Showstopper Entertainment due to the fact that neither a set of tax returns nor a CPA issued P&L accompanies the application. Second on that,
Second,
we'll go around the table. Mike? Yes.
Carl, yes.
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Jesse? Did you?
I didn't vote.
Oh, I thought I heard it.
Question regarding a transcript versus a tax return.
Here's, if I can anticipate your comment, because of the council's action last night, which was in cases like this, the consultant would be instructed to go get the tax return from the applicant and cure it. That might take care of whatever problems we may have.
Yes,
Are you with me on that?
voted that.
Okay.
Yes.
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 I'm voting yes. I'm also noting that the tax returns that were submitted were redacted. Yeah, I think too much, so, yeah,
Yeah, I think, we'll take care of that. I think the consultant is going to take care of it.
so be it.
Yeah, but in any event, the way I understand the meeting last night, this would now go back into the council's hands to decide after the tax returns are retrieved. So I think that's how it's going to, we're not going to see it again, I don't think.
I think it's coming back to us.
Do you think it is?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let me just explain what happened to the applicant that is here, and then after that, we'll move on to Robert James Solano. You understand, I am listening, so I go into the findings and what I. So look at the is requiring previous 3 years of action. 2019 was a full action. So we had second funding this out. So we and say, hey, give us a shot there. You do that and it's a come around again, whether it be us or twice. Is that, what did they do up to now?
As far as the questioning their backgrounds, you.
Yes, but I'm like.
I know. I want that.
There's something about the.
Sleep with less.
Pineapple.
I mean, it's. You know. Very.
Oh.
Good night.
So.
Robert James.
I only remember when I took.
I know, not everybody can get schools that.
Robert James, Bob Gross, this is a hair salon. Definitely impacted by COVID. They did receive some COVID relief, PPP money, which kind of made them close to whole. One thing I note, the one of their asks is, so I think we have to address this right off the bat, is for 25,000, but according to UHY, 5,000 is not applicable. That they cannot ask for 5,000 for business advertising. It's not an approved or allowable ARPA expense. That was written by Claire. This was written, if you go into the
Business track.
this business finder or business thing they sent to us, it says 5,000. Somebody wants to pull it up.
Application?
No, they're on the business finder where, you know, it's color coded and
Oh, the spreadsheet.
spreadsheet.
Yeah, I haven't looked at that in a while, quite frankly.
Well, I look at it when I have an application.
But the amended
Yeah, but that-
agenda does say portion eligible for UHY, so whoever.
Portion eligible or uneligible?
Is eligible, portion eligible. per
Oh, okay, so
UHY.
maybe, is that the portion that's eligible? They should be more clear on this, right?
You know, I did the agenda. It was just a signal to everybody that a portion is eligible, meaning a portion is ineligible.
All right, I'm just going.
It's the other side of the same coin.
We'll have Craig pull it up. So for that reason, if we approve this, and I'm a pass on this one, that 20,000 is what we could only approve based on ARPA, and I'm just going based on what UHY has written in their binder, because that's what we're supposed to do, and that's what the council asked us to do, and we're doing everything the council asked us to do. Properly. So
Without bias.
without bias. So I want to make sure that we're doing it the way the council wanted it without bias. And that says in here by UHY that there's 5, and Craig's looking no.
I'm not, I'm looking at the application,
Okay.
which I had already reviewed this morning, but I will go to.
But other than that, I'll continue that, you know, this was impacted, the hair salons were shut down, they had to come back slowly. She did move during this time frame. She moved in 2021 to a different location, not far, just a block away, really, or a couple blocks away. That's why it says years in Wallingford's 20, but 1 year in the current location because she moved during that. Whether that impacted income in 2021, that's not for us to say. We're looking at the numbers here, and that's what it was. And for that reason, I would pass them. That's the kind of industry that was hurt, and we can see it.
Great.
I had a lot of problems with what the money's gonna be used for. There's no backup for. I mean, it's, if we throw out the advertising, which is a question. There's inventory / supplies, rent / utilities. But they were generally made whole through the PPP as well as their income. So what are we potentially paying for is the question that I have and had. That's all I got.
So this was a small business that looks like it. In 2019, it was sort of close to the edge. The gross revenues dropped in the height of the pandemic. They've come back a little bit, but not all the way. They did get 22,000 almost in PPP money, which makes it almost whole, but it's in one of those industries that's fragile, particularly hit is what I'm trying to say, particularly hit by COVID, the personal care industry. So I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. It has come back a little bit, but not all the way. And I'm giving it a passing score.
So I got the spreadsheet up.
Yeah.
Read Claire's note.
Yep.
It says not all requested funding is ARPA eligible. $5,000 for business advertising is not an allowable ARPA expense.
Okay.
Although I do note that I think we did approve others. that
I
have.
know.
Many.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I looked at it, this is why I did it. I
What
mean,
do we tell our websites?
Right.
Right.
Amen.
hey, I'm just going based on what she said.
Okay. So what we can do is in the motion is make it for a 20,000 rather than 25.
But what about all the other?
We can make it with a stipulation that if this is an allowable expense, then we can go to the 25.
Why not just approve the 25?
Yeah.
Let
we
them
have
sort it out.
Many other applications.
Yeah,
I think you go either way. We've done that for others.
Well, I'm just going based on, because this one, she made note of it, and I'm just going based.
She has to show the
The ones
documentation.
that had website
I'm not,
add-ons and additions as part of their funding last
I'm
night.
not-
So what's the message?
it does, I'm not, I'm willing to go to 25. I'm bringing it up because this is what Claire said. I didn't say this. I was passing this one. This one was not one I was failing. This one is passed. I would have passed it for 25, but I went to 20 because of what their notes say.
I don't think we should reduce it at all.
I didn't hear that either.
I don't think we should reduce it because we've had a precedent where we have not reduced any other ones because they've had advertising in them or rent or anything.
Well,
Maybe the problem is what is advertising? So purchasing an ad in a newspaper is advertising, and maybe that is not allowed. But, you know, a website is for the purpose of advertising, it could be informational also. You know, so maybe there's a distinction. I'm still having problems with. They're just getting a check, basically. There is nothing to hold them to. As far as what this money is going for. I mean, it could go for anything. It's just for overhead. Advertising, which we still don't know what that is, inventory, supplies, rent, utilities. So that's just, here's a check, go have fun. But
Choose
anyway.
to submit receipts.
Well, it's not going to be that. It's not going to be that. They're going to insist, the law department comptroller are going to insist on an itemization and verbal quotes for each area of expenditure, so on and so forth. And if there's an area that isn't qualified, Claire is on board, is working together with the law department to make sure all the expenses are documented, eligible, so on and so forth, accompanied by 3 quotes. So my thinking is because some of this advertising we may have approved in the past, and I can't pull up those in my mind, but we treat it as a $25,000 application, approve it in the amount of $25,000 and let the law department and the consultant pare it back if they see an ineligible expense.
If we pass it.
Huh?
If it gets passed.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
that was assumed, sorry, yeah, right. So if we treat it that way, we'll just go on the merits of the full application. Chris, does that address your concern? I'm not sure where we are.
Standard deviation, that will be so high that they'll get it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So, Bob, are you all set?
Yeah. I talked.
Yeah,
Well, we haven't gone around it.
Oh, I'm done. I thought you went around. it.
Just-
Yeah.
we got out of order here. Craig, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, nothing else, nothing else from me, Carl?
This is a business in the personal care industry. It's been consistently, impacted, adversely impacted. I'm staying consistent with the $25,000 allotment. And it's, for me, it's a score of 80.
Jack,
I agree with Mike.
anything else?
Nothing else.
Jesse?
I don't think I said anything, but to me,
Well,
I think we went, yeah, no, I'm gonna pass it, but I would have liked more detail in terms of the expenses, and even though it's semi-itemized. I don't think that it's a part that industries like this stuff really need help. Rob?
Yeah, I'll be very brief. I don't have, first of all, I don't have any problem with advertising. I mean, you can't lump all these businesses into the same general category. A manufacturing business that's been in business for 10, 15, 20 years may not need the advertising money, but a small business may. But that being said, I would not agree to, I would not suggest that we reduce the amount. I don't think that, I gave it a passing grade modestly because with the PPP, it did make her whole. I don't think that she was as negatively impacted financially as some of the other businesses that we reviewed tonight. But that being said, I gave it a modest passing grade for the full $25,000.
while you're at it, what is your modest passing grade?
80.
Okay. Everyone got their sheets in?
Yeah. Very
That's
rarely,
modest for Rob.
very rarely see an 80.
All right, ready? Robert James Salon, Rob Fritz, 80. Chris Regan, 73. Jesse Reynolds, 70. Bob Gross, 75. Amy Walsh, 80. Carl Bonamico, 80. Jackie, 85. Craig Fishbein 70, Mike Zirinsky 78.
$76.78.
76.78. So based on the average score of 76.78, I make a motion that we recommend further favorable action in the amount of $25,000 in the matter of Robert James Salon LLC.
Second.
Go around the table. Mike is yes.
Carl is yes.
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 Fishbein, yes.
Fritz, yes.
Next one is going to be rental housing. I'm not quite.
Was that you?
Me.
No. It's Jack.
That's it.
Yes.
So it's a housing property. John Curtis is the owner. He's been in business for 67 years in Wallingford. It is a rental property and due to COVID, his renter was unable to pay her rent. She also did a lot of damage to the apartment and he is requesting $6,000. Hold on. 6,000 to help do some of the repairs and upgrades so he could rent this apartment out. He shows a significant loss. 2019 was 9,850, 2020, 11,000, 2021 is 0. Again, he's asking for 6,000. He did get 10,000 a grant covering 10,000 10 months of loss of rent and a 10,000 EDL forgivable grant. So we did get 20,000.
Point of order,
Excuse me?
this is not a business.
When you come around, we'll address that. I have a similar issue, but not everyone will agree. I mean, so, but we'll address that.
Okay.
Yeah, so and that was one of my questions too, actually, that it's a
It's real estate.
real estate.
Yeah.
So is it a business or is it just a rental property? And that was my question.
So let's see how everyone addresses it. I don't think the town council had this in mind when they passed the program, but we can't read their minds, but they used the word business. In common parlance, dictionary definition, plain language, all that stuff. Would one reasonable person in normal circumstances equate a landlord, one apartment as a business? I can see if you have an apartment complex, 100 units, you're in the, real estate management business, but renting one apartment, is that a business? I would say no.
Right, it shows there's 2 addresses on the tax return, so
Yeah.
one's his residence.
You're that. It's a
Oh.
family.
So I think you just got to come up in your own mind whether you think this situation is really a business or is it?
Right. I mean, I was going by that the people approved it and sent it down to
Yeah.
us too, so.
Yeah.
They're the ones that approved it, so I was gonna score accordingly to them sending it to us. That's
Gotcha.
all.
In
Yeah.
terms of your definition, though, a real estate holding company is
Sure.
technically a business.
That this is not that
It
though.
doesn't.
But
It was an EIN.
And it's a business.
It's a business,
But if
as it, but in this case, that is not the case.
Yeah,
Is it not on the IN?
But there's no, the social security does sole proprietor need an EIN? I don't think the answer.
No, you're right. If you're a sole proprietorship, you do not need a EIN. You could use your social security number.
And that is part of the application says that, I mean, it is.
Doing
sole
business at
proprietor.
BVA can use a social security number.
It's technically an unincorporated business.
But the application, so the application does say business organization structure. Sole proprietorship, LLC corporation, stuff. And sole proprietors are allowed, which via the application, it is, I would tend to say that this was. You know, it's a holding as far as real estate. They're applying deductions as far as maintenance and upkeep of the property, et cetera. It's just like any one of us. I mean, if we're using a home office deductions, et cetera, which we do as well. Just my commentary, it's a 6,000 ask. There's definitely there's not a risk. I have one issue about being in business for 67 years and being incorporated in 1990. You know, that math doesn't work. But as far as the request and the ask, you know, it's a small ask for a business, in my opinion, that is catering to clientele that he's trying to get. So did he have a COVID issue? Yes. Is a long-term recovery. I'm uncertain as far as that one. The proposed budget is appropriate. We're lacking some more details. Involvements, sure. You know, so it's a low pass for me.
Rob?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's, it would have been nice to have some more details on the expected expenses, because it appears that he was made whole by rent. But that being said, landlords were the forgotten entity during this COVID. They took a huge financial hit, and everybody just assumed that, you know, that they could handle it financially. So I think that I support this with another modest passing grade, but I do support it. I think it's reasonable.
Jesse?
I struggled with the question a little bit about whether or not it's a business, but you know, I'm not an expert in that, so I'm going to defer to people that say that I'm going to look at it as a business, and I scored it a low pass. I think it's a modest ask. I think it's being used to improve something that they're using to generate income from. So it's not a slam dunk pass for me, but it's
Amy?
Yeah, I have a hard time with this because landlords, we've had 2 other landlord proposals before us, and I don't believe we passed them. One was the Route 5 Realty that wanted to pave their parking lot, and the other one was like our first one of our first meetings, a property down here that we didn't, on Center Street, that we didn't pass. So I don't know if that's a precedent that but this is a modest ask, so I guess I'm interested in other people's reactions to this proposal.
Bob Gross?
I don't pass it for the reason that I felt that this is not COVID related. He went into the pandemic with this tenant already. If you read his thing and you go online and look, he was already trying to remove this tenant. The tenant was already behind in rent. He did recover because of the pandemic, $10,000 in assistance. Yeah, he took this tenant to court in 19. Same tenant. And he couldn't get her out, or him or whatever. Because I went online and looked, because I'm a landlord and I had a tenant who unfortunately got ill. And I never collected a penny from him. And I never went anywhere, and it's just the way it was, you know, and that's part of being a landlord. And I have do we pay for things that are already done? If it's already been repaired. Because I think it's for rent or it's already rented. Do we pay for things that?
We shouldn't be.
No, we shouldn't be. I mean,
Right,
that
that's
would
my
go to
other reason.
reserves or things like that, which we.
Because he's not sitting with this open for a year past. This is, you know, he can't sit waiting to see if he's gonna get $6,000 from the ARPA commission. This has been repaired and moved on. I mean, he's not. So for those reasons, I can't see how we can pass this.
Yeah,
And a lot of these things he has on here are just normal things that you would do anytime a tenant leaves your care. Unfortunately, you have to paint, you have to clean, you have to do these things. And these are the things that he's asking for. You can't rent without doing these things, and you should do those things if you're gonna be a good landlord instead of slumlord, so you have to do it.
And I was concerned because he got Unite CT money to replace the lost rent, which basically brought him whole. Because he was at 9.811 and then 0 in 2021, but I believe that's when we got the 10,000. So basically whole at that time, and he got the EIDL forgivable grant of $10,000 for some repairs and remaining rent loss. So there is no economic income impact from the pandemic. And I'm concerned about the precedent. I do not recognize this as a, you know, the whole ARPA, the discussions that we've had is about economic development. You know, keeping businesses thriving and perhaps expanding in our county. This is not that. So I'm certainly sympathetic, but I don't think it gets out of the gate. And I just looked up, I don't see that this, any unit there is like for rent. So I have to assume, I guess, that something's done.
So I'm looking at the definitions of business, whichever way they cut. I'm just reading what the dictionary has to say. Business, a person's regular occupation, profession, or trade. A secondary definition, the practice of making one's living by engaging in commerce. Merriam-Webster, let me just click on that. Business, a usually commercial or mercantile activity engaged in as a means of livelihood, a commercial or sometimes an industrial enterprise, dealings or transactions. Hold on. Especially of an economic nature. I don't know if that's helpful or not. It somewhat helps me.
You're
but-
getting that from the Webster's dictionary.
Yeah, it was.
If you're completing a Schedule E under the laws of the IRS, you are a business entity.
I agree. Do we have a Schedule C here?
Schedule E.
E. Is that a business?
That's in there for this particular case.
It's like, and I just have to say, if I own a few units that, and I have them under separate LLCs and everything, so they're separate from each other for safety reasons, but they're considered businesses. I have not EIN numbers for each of them, but they're each one's considered a business, make tax and such. So
I always get concerned when I see stuff in the Surly world that is so that I don't know that anybody from UHY ever reviews them. But
Yeah, I tend to agree with that.
I'm very hesitant about opening the document.
I did.
All right, I think, did you find anything discussion you're talking about?
What is it called again?
Schedule.
I know that, but it's.
Oh,
Rental housing
rental
property.
housing. And Bob, you probably remember this, but there was a moratorium for tenants.
Oh, yeah,
So that also had an adverse impact on land, which is collateral.
right.
You know,
And that,
nature.
and I suffered it, but and this is.
It is
I
an
know
adverse
everything.
impact, economic impact,
Right.
no matter how you differentiate that, it is. And it affected every landlord differently.
Oh, I know some landlords that went and got 25,000 for United CT, and they did their thing, they went to the court, and they got their thing, and I could have done the same thing, but I just,
And when I
And you
sued
should-
the federal court, that's what they said, is that you can still sue the tenant and get
Right.
your back rent.
yeah, it was still there, still available.
It is procedural, but imagine going through that.
But if this person has already fixed everything, there's no contract. to
That's right.
sign.
Yeah. And there's
Okay,
doubt,
and the-
substantial doubt as to whether it's still
The
unrepaired
attorneys
or
can
not.
sign that for free.
That's part of the problem.
Did we get a score from Rob?
Okay, are we ready to, yeah, we'll get Rob. Rob, are you,
Sure, 75.
okay? Everyone else is ready with their sheets?
I just hope we don't have any applications from babysitters. That's a business too.
So,
Yeah,
But
but.
it's-
they're incorporated,
If you
they
keep
file
those
that.
tax returns.
How about Girl Scouts selling cookies?
There you go.
I look over your shoulder.
eBay.
You can just pick up.
The new one, so
The
raspberry.
raspberry ones, it's insane how much people are paying. for them.
Anybody had one of them?
No, can't find them.
Oh, I didn't know if anybody got one. No, no. Didn't want to. No.
Everybody scored then?
I don't think so.
Whenever you have owned real estate, you have to file a Schedule E for each.
Yeah, but why didn't we see that?
Hey,
Um,
guys,
It's further down. the road. Yeah.
What's that, Rob?
If you look at the application, the ARPA application front page, if you look down about halfway down the page, right there says business or organizational structure in parentheses, sole proprietorship, LLC, corporation, etc. So this is indeed defined as a business according to this application. So you can vote whatever you want based on other criteria, but don't. The fact that whether it's a business or not should not be a question. It is according to this ARPA application.
No, I think we agreed to this.
We agreed.
Okay, sorry.
So I think I have 6.
Yeah, I was marking mine up.
Anybody else? Alrighty. Okay, so this is rental housing property. Carl Bonico 80. Jackie 75. Mike Rudinsky 58. Craig Fishbein 55. Bob Gross 50. Bob Gross 75. Amy Walsh 65. Chris Regan 65. Jesse Reynolds 70.
$65.89.
65.89.
Because we got some 50.
Okay.
No, there's a standard deviation of 50 to, what was the high, 75?
So based on the average score of 65.89, I make a motion that we recommend no further favorable action in the matter of rental housing property.
Really, the name is John Curtis though, right? Because
Second that motion.
there is no entity by the name of rental housing property.
I'll fix that up in the report.
Yeah, no
We'll see
problem.
how they list it, on the tracker. So it was made in second. We'll go around the table. Mike is yes.
Carl is yes.
Jackie, yes.
Chris, yes.
Rob,
I'm sorry, what was the, yes,
was that a yes?
He said yes.
Okay.
yes.
Good.
Yes.
Amy, yes.
Bob is a yes.
Greg is a yes.
Okay.
There's times that I'm trying to get something done too, but
Based on the number.
yeah, this one's about.
Posh is Chris.
All right, so Posh ask is for 14,897 for a list of infrastructure improvements,
Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
training, and some inventory stock supporting it, like other salons in this category. They've taken a hit as far as being able to stay in business. They were closed down, mandated by the state March through March 19, 2020 through June 1st. So for roughly 3.5 months. They saw a marginal decrease in 2020's revenue, have sprung back somewhat from that in 2021. Applied for PPP loans, etc. Even though PPP loan, they show no employees. That's I'm assuming that's for one. The owner of it as the owner for that. Industry absolutely took a hit. The ask here is not rounded up to the $25,000. It seems to be a legitimate ask for a fairly basic list of things that to help this business continue to grow and thrive in the community. So for me, it was a marginal pass.
Rob,
I agree, with all the comments that were made, so marginal pass.
Jesse,
Yeah, I'm sort of there too. You know, the only thing that kind of stuck out to me, although, that's pretty good news, is based on the gross income that they had reported on their, application in 2021 was a pretty big jump. So, with that maybe growth in, then there comes the need to replace what you have or to upkeep it or upgrade it or whatever. So it wasn't a strong pass for me, but it's a pass for me.
Yeah, salon, like the experience to hit, so like other salons, I appreciate that it's a project to make the business better going forward. I appreciate that even though they're financially doing better in 2021, they didn't ask for the full 25 and they had a detail as far as what they're looking to spend it on. So I give it a pass.
I did not give it a pass. Based on what, again, the council, they seem to have rebounded from their pandemic really wasn't a low. They did get minimal PPP money, was really equal to what 19 was. So 19 and 20 were pretty much equal. And then they showed a substantial increase in 21. And for that reason, they seem, based on the criteria we were given by the council, that if they've rebounded, they seem to have come back from the pandemic. And for that reason,
So I'm having trouble getting by box number 1 because the numbers do not bear out. We all recognize the industry, right? But we don't know, for all we know, they started doing this stuff out in the parking lot because their numbers are not reflective of what we've seen of other applicants in this industry. Basically, there was a blip, if anything, it's spilled in by the PPP. But then when you get to the 30-point box, which is the first box that we approached, it says clearly describe financial adversity that the business is experiencing. So that's talking about the present. Well, there's none based upon the application that's before us. So in good faith, without bias, I don't know how you can put any number in. I mean, I gave it a 5, but that skews the whole thing down based upon the rest, because then if there is no financial adversity presently, when you get to the 40-point box, you got to say that the project will address the adversity. And if there is no adversity, then how do you address something that doesn't exist? So, I mean, that's the scoring that they gave us, and it scores quite well. Perfect.
I'm still making up my mind. I think this is in the industry where there's sort of a presumption that they were disproportionately impacted. Nevertheless, her numbers are up. And if the numbers are up, she's in a better position now than she was in 2019. So I'm still thinking about this. I'm going to only it for now. Carl.
I gave this a very moderate pass. Personal care industry, fairly affected. I understand some of the specifics that people laid out here, but to me, it's a moderate pass.
Jackie?
I agree with Carl, and she's not asking for the whole 25, and the 14, I believe, will continue to allow her business to grow and remain open in our town.
Anyone else to go around the second time? Rob, we covered you, right? Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Rob, you have a score?
75.
There's another one coming, two more coming. There you go.
All right. Posh Coiffure Salon, Jackie, 80. Carl Bonamico, 75. Vic Berdinsky, 69. Chris Regan, 73. Rockwood, 75. Bessie Reynolds, 75. Amy Welsh, 75. Craig Fishbein, 40. Bob Durst, 50.
Let's take it down no matter what. Good stuff.
Put your fingers like that. 69.11.
Say that again?
69.11.
Another poster child.
So based upon the average score of 69.11, I make a motion that we recommend no further favorable action in the matter of Posh Coiffure Salon.
Second.
Go around the table. Mike is a yes.
Carl, yes.
Jackie, yes.
Chris, yes.
Jesse, yes.
Amy, yes.
Bob's yes.
Greg is yes.
And
Rob is yes.
We're not quite done yet, because there's another matter I want to talk about with you. Has to do with scheduling. Amy, you all set?
Yeah.
Okay. So going back to the list of nonprofits left for us to do after March 29th. There's roughly 14. Community Health Center, Beth Israel Synagogue, Literacy Volunteers, Collaboration of Minority Women Professionals, Meriden Wallingford Solace, St. Paul's Nursery, Wallingford Girls Little League, the Yalesville Little League Sisters Project, Land Trust, Gaylord, Wallingford Community Theater, United Way, Scout.
Is she in red?
She and Van should be.
Sheehan is coming up on the 29th. So they're already scheduled. These are unscheduled, going forward. So most of you are familiar, at least generally, with the action of the council last night. Some of you were there, some of you I talked to on the phone. Is there any gaps to fill in? Did I generally know what was going on?
So in what aspect?
I'm gonna get specific.
Other
in
than
a minute.
accusation.
Yeah, I'm gonna get,
Okay.
yeah,
You're
I'm
good.
gonna get specific in a minute.
Okay, good.
So where I'm going with, what I'm gonna suggest here is that we transfer over to the council for their consideration for nonprofit applications, meaning we don't review them. We give it to the council to review. There's a couple of reasons for this. One, these are big ticket items. These are probably the 4 biggest nonprofit applications. They're big ticket numbers. A couple of them might be problematic just on my quick review. And if we're going to spend time discussing whether it's a problem or not, or maybe even not passing or giving one or more a haircut, I mean, all kinds of complications, it goes to the council anyway. They've made it clear that they're more than willing to review what we reject. They're more than willing to take up anew applications that we do not recommend. So by transferring over to them, these 4 applications, and they would be, I would suggest, Gaylord, United Way, Community Health Center, and SCOW. We would maybe be able to complete the nonprofits in one meeting, maybe a meeting and a half. but we might be able to do it in one meeting. That would be, let's say, April 3, if we're, with good luck. All the nonprofits would be done between the 29th, April 3, and 4 applications that the council would take up. The council is, you know, based on their comments, they have no problem reviewing applications that are fresh. And by transferring it over to them, they can take it up maybe sooner than we can. These 4 are really at the bottom of our list, just the way the randomization worked.
What are the
So
amounts? Do you want to just tell us the amount?
the amounts, community health, 317,000. United Way, 230,000. Gaylord, $1 million. Scout, 226,000 and change. So by doing that, I think the council might even enjoy that because, you know, Scout and United Way probably are very popular. Maybe there's not too much problems there. They could take that up easily in a meeting, whereas the other 2 might be problematic. And again, if we didn't recommend them, they would look at it anew anyway and probably recommend them despite what we did. So we just skip our step, give them some applications to look over. And maybe we can finish the nonprofits on April 3. If we're able to do that, we should be able to finish the businesses between the new April 5 date and the previously already scheduled April 18. So under that plan, with good luck, barring no surprises, we're all done April 18. Does anyone else see any logic in that?
Are they, so the applications tonight and any future applications we pass into the council, are they, because they passed that standard deviation last night, is standard deviation going to be
I
applied?
don't pass the standard deviation. Withdrawn.
What they
I
did?
thought it was withdrawn.
No,
That
Oh,
was
it passed.
not 6-2.
Oh, yeah.
What,
You voted against it.
yeah, well, something got withdrawn. It was a long meeting.
What got pulled back was the calling of the question.
Yeah, and I
That-
remember that, but I thought at the end of the day.
Well, that very
Wasn't
much
there a
got-
motion to table?
But it failed.
Oh, and that failed.
That failed.
Okay.
And then it was 6-2. If I remember, and I don't know, Rob was there, Jackie was
Yeah,
there.
by then I was just, yeah.
So
6-2.
just to restate, the council is apparently not bashful of looking over these applications. And in some sense signaled that, you know, what we do isn't terribly important anyway, if we reject them. So maybe it works for everybody that we transfer 4 over. They get to approve maybe 2, and they can wrestle with 2 that are problematic.
But are they, so because they passed the standard deviation and and she said last night, meaning Counselor Allison,
Yeah.
that there would be 11 for-profits that would pass based on the standard deviation.
Yeah,
So that means they're going back and looking at the others.
they are.
So with the ones that we're passing in now, would standard deviation be applied to those all?
They're not bound by standard deviation because they would just approve them on a 5-vote majority.
So, okay, say we failed one tonight, whatever one we failed,
Yeah.
ABC company,
Okay.
and it failed with 65, but with standard, and so you're saying they won't even apply the standard deviation, they could just say, let's do it, because I looked
They
at,
don't have to score anything.
right, and they'll just pass it. So what are we doing?
So what we're doing is we're taking from our list 4 big ticket items. 2 are complicated, 2 probably are not. Passing it over to them. So we don't waste our time, especially on something as complicated as Gaylord. And if we waste our time and in the end, if we spend a lot of time, I'm going to change my wording here. We spend a lot of time, find out that Gaylord is not recommended by us, it goes over to them, certainly it would be approved despite what we did. So we're skipping a step, saving our time, putting it in their lap and making them.
Then why are we doing the others?
Hmm?
Then why are we looking at the others if they're gonna ultimately decide which way they want to go with it based on, because I have to say, I looked on Surlink today, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And they have access to these.
Sure.
Most of them haven't looked at one.
No, I agree.
They haven't even opened up they haven't even logged in.
I agree.
but they passed last night 14 that they didn't look at.
That's right.
So, but all I'm saying is,
Yeah.
what are we doing here?
We've had this discussion, I've had the same discussion with a few of you. When I looked at the schedule, here's where I'm coming down. When I looked at the schedule and I see that applicants are already lined up for the 29th. They're already there. They know they have the agenda. They're all set to come. They're gonna come. How much more effort is it gonna take from us to finish it out? And when I see we could maybe do it April 3 and April 5, maybe April 18, maybe April 18.
Why,
if
why
need be.
expend the effort
Yeah,
when it's inevitable it's gonna go to the council?
I'm open to any suggestion.
I just don't want to be biased here.
So, yeah, let's go around. Jesse, your hand was first, and then we'll go back.
I'll go around.
Okay,
I would be in favor of passing it to the council,
passing which?
those four.
Those four, okay. Yep,
I haven't reviewed those yet. I've just been going in the order of the agenda items. So for me, I'd like to review them first and then make a decision as to what I want to do, I guess.
is there any chance you could look at it tonight?
No.
Okay. The advantage of taking some action tonight is they get to it quick. You know, they can start going on it. Even if you look at it and you look at $1 million application from Gaylord, do you really want to, I'll sign that to you. Oh, so
Everybody
Jackie
agrees
gets
to-
Gaylord.
everybody agrees to send it forward. I'll agree to send it forward. I'm a part of the team.
No, I'm just, you know, I'm just
To me, it
saying.
goes back to Obama. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I
So
know.
that's why, to me, it's an inevitability to pass it through the council because you're being micromanaged.
We're gonna pass some of them, which is great for the council, and we're not gonna pass some of them, and if they're a favorite son.
Yeah.
They're just going to.
They're gonna
figure
apply
something out
subjectivity without looking at it.
Because of our bias.
What I'm looking to do before our time runs out is get a specific course of action that we all can agree on and sort of move forward in that direction. We could hold off on a decision on this until the 29th. World doesn't come to an end, by moving it to the 29th.
I make a motion that we do.
Hold on, let's go around. and
Okay,
then
well,
we'll-
keeps on coming back to this side, so let's go.
All right. Chris, Jesse, Amy,
So I don't see why it's just four. I would support taking all nonprofits, throwing it back to the council because nonprofits and how they raise funds and how they do the good work that they do within the community, et cetera, are a politically charged piece. There is no question after last night's escapades or theatrics or whatever you want to call it, that there are absolutely special interests in the nonprofit ones. Nobody is going not everybody's going to be happy, but because it's only a 5-vote count, the likelihood that the council would overturn something that we chose not to move forward is extremely high. So I would say not just the four. I mean, of course, I would support the four if that's what we're voting on. But I would say expand the scope to the entirety of the non-for-profits. Let the council work through those nonprofit pieces, et cetera, over the next few months.
so we got two proposals, the four and all of them. So as we go around, let's see where we stand. Maybe there's a third alternative or something.
I just think based on my experience that maybe we should ask them if they would do it. Before we tell them that we don't want to. I mean, I very much get the feeling that I was asked to come here and sort of be a representative and to sort of, act on their behalf. And so I don't mind voting to say, can you look at these four? We don't feel comfortable doing it. I don't mind voting in favor of saying, here, take all the nonprofits. But I do think it would be from a decorum standpoint, at least going back to them and asking if they would be okay with that. Because if we just punt to them a bunch of applications, whether it be 4 or 40, it's just gonna look like us, pushing back. And I'm not in favor of doing that, but again, I will vote with the majority. I just think that maybe we should say, look, in light of what happened, this is how we feel. And in light of the large contracts here and everything else, we would rather you look at them and review them. Are you okay with that? If they say yes, great. And if they say no, then that would be what I'd be comfortable with. I don't feel like I would be more in favor of saying, why are we doing this at all? As opposed to saying, here's a chunk or here's the mall or whatever. I'd be more in favor of saying, why are we doing this?
So I'm sort of putting you in the Chris Regan camp right now.
We talked earlier and I'll say it out loud. I would prefer to get all of these done and fulfill my obligation and be done with it. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's possible, but that's what I would prefer because that's what I set out to do. And I feel like we do a good thing, whether people like our decisions or not, I feel like we do a good thing. So to me, that was my preference. Now, reducing the workload, I'm in favor of it. Reducing the workload when they're going to overturn it anyway, or likely to overturn it. Yeah. And if you want some information, the posh one that we just rejected will pass with the standard deviation adjustment. We had a 69.11 and the standard deviation was 11.56. Therefore, it goes up to 80.67. If you use what I had asked them to do, the median score on that one was actually a 75. So it would have passed in either way if the median didn't. So to me, this stuff already says that we're not overturned because we don't make anything other than recommendations. But so that's where I'm going with this. I would either rather finish or not do anything at all. But if we're going to give them stuff to do, I think we should ask. So
We'll come back. Amy?
I like the idea because of these 4 out of 4 nonprofit are many standard deviations above the average ask that we see. It makes sense for the council to review these large asks. So I like that idea. It does beg the question of what we're doing here, but the 29th agenda is all nonprofits. So
Yeah.
if we right now say we're not doing any nonprofits, they'll go to council, what happens to the 29th?
No, we do the 29th
it would be the remaining one.
because they're lined up.
Yeah.
And I don't want
Okay.
to disrupt
And
that.
those are low asks? Or not as high as the other 4?
Oh,
They're all
nowhere near.
just much smaller.
Nowhere near.
Than, yeah. Yeah, they're much, yeah.
So, I mean, in some sense, I agree with what Jesse said, is we set out to do a job and we're doing a job here. And if our recommendations are not going to be followed, we're kind of putting a line in the sand of, we did our homework. You guys may or may not have even looked at the backup material. And I don't know what you're doing by overturning it. The council seems to be setting a precedent of appointing committees and then not following what committees or people who do the work recommend. So I'm not sure where we fall on that. That's what I'm.
You don't have to come to a conclusion right
Okay.
now. So,
Those are my thoughts.
I agree that I volunteered for this. Well, when I was asked about, I didn't ask to be on the panel. Somebody asked me. I said, yes, I follow everything through. I volunteer in a lot of groups in town here. And I follow through and some of them have been on for 20, 30 years. And I always follow everything through. Everybody's been very conscientious in this group. And I don't think any of us are considering that if we were to stop, there's a failure on our side because of what the council did last night. And no matter what we do, because the way things get scored, for the most part, I don't see, if there's 1 or 2 that if we fail, they might stay failed. But for the majority, they're going to pass everything we don't do. And every not-for-profit they're going to pass because it's political. And it appears to be, that's what they're doing here. They played with political football last night. And that's fine. That's their prerogative. But what are we doing here then? I'm for it. I'm here on the 29th. No problem about that. That's what we want. You want to ask the council if they want to take the rest of them? I'm fine to go that route also. I'll go with the majority of the room, but I'm just asking, what are we doing here based on what we saw last night? And you know that those numbers aren't going to change on that council. Those votes are going to stay the way they were. Maybe they'll lose 1, but it doesn't make a difference. They had 6. so they can go down to 5. You're not gonna change, it's political.
Rob,
And I just gotta say one last
Okay.
thing, this group has
hold on,
not,
Rob.
this group has not been political at all. This group has looked at every application. There's never been any accusations that we're being put, well, let's pass this one, or let's pass this one, or let's fail this one, because whoever they are. Everybody's come in here with an open mind. People are gonna listen to this, and that's what bothers, I think, should bother us the most, that we've been a very fair group. And to do what they did last night at the timing they did was wrong.
Rob,
I'll try to be brief. When we took on this responsibility, it was based on the information at the time. I think that, and I've been honored to be on this committee with everybody, and I mean that very sincerely. However, I think also it's also the timing of the decisions that the council make, because they made this decision last night in the middle of our evaluation period. Circumstances have certainly changed. I think that some of the council members, and this is my own personal opinion, have been dishonest, incompetent, and an embarrassment, to be quite frankly. Not all of them, but some of them. And I don't appreciate being a patsy. We're all professional, we're intelligent, and I think that I have much better things to do with my time. Based on what happened last night, I would certainly suggest that we ship all of the nonprofit applications to them. Again, because I don't want to be a patsy and participate in an exercise of futility. And I may not be there on the 29th, to be quite frank with you. I will honor my commitment for all the businesses, because I think they need representation. But short of that, if the council wants to play politics and override our decisions, then I think that we should give them the responsibility. I just don't want to waste my time.
Rob, I just want to restate what I think I heard from you, which is we go ahead on the 29th with the nonprofits we've lined up, and all the rest we refer back to the council for action. Did I get that right?
No, I would suggest, if I had a vote, I would not do the 29th. I would ship all the nonprofits back to the town council and dump it in their lap, and they can have their wish.
Okay,
But
so
I'll participate. I'll support whatever the group decides. I'll certainly support that.
okay, so your first choice would be we don't go forward on the 29th. We hand those over to the council.
Yep.
Okay. Where did I leave Craig?
Go ahead, Craig.
So
I'm working through. Yeah.
I think we all recognize the issue with the nonprofits, right? I have to and can say that it doesn't end there. We have a standard deviation situation now, and it will still, even with the businesses, result in some individuals just missing. There will be certain forces in this town that will tell those people, go to a council meeting and move the goalpost again, so that you are accepted. You are a business in this town. You deserve this money. That's what the money was there for. We're going to end up in the same place with the business applications also. So, I'm in support right now. I wear both hats, right? So I wish some of my colleagues would put on the big boy pants and look at some of these applications. What happened last night was arbitrary. Without looking at the applications and just saying your numbers are not reflective of the applications, and therefore we're going to change the process. And that's disrespectful to our deliberations, our discussions, our reviews of the application.
Well, I don't disagree. No one disagrees, but I'm looking for a specific course of action that we know where we're going.
I'm okay with doing the 29th. I think Rob was the only one who said he didn't want to do that. I think those people have an expectation that we're going to be here. We're going to look at their applications. But after that, I just think that everything should go to the council.
Are you, okay, we're gonna
Everything.
bifurcate nonprofits and businesses for this conversation.
understand.
Simplify. So you're in the sort of the Regan
Oh, I'm definitely in the Regan
Regan,
part.
Regan. All right, Carl.
Why are you surprised?
Carl, and then Jack.
dinner with.
You haven't invited me.
Everything as in businesses
me.
and nonprofits okay,
No,
'cause I didn't know if Craig was saying
there's
everything.
A day and a half of businesses.
No, I got you. I just didn't know if Craig was saying everything as in business.
I think it
and-
was,
I was saying that, but Mike stopped me. I was like, it's a fait accompli. It's not gonna matter at the end of the day, so.
to simplify the issue right now, I just want to deal with nonprofits, then we can talk about businesses, so. So you've heard the conversation, both of you, were you in the Regan camp, some other camp, what's the? You want to transfer the nonprofits over?
It's gonna be totally my own camp, and why don't we just approve all the nonprofits? The money's there, the money was approved from the town council that totaled all the money. And we know that the nonprofits, well, for me, I believe that the nonprofits do great work in our town.
We
Scout,
don't even look at them, just sort of.
yeah,
Carl?
You know, I agree with Rob. I mean, I think, you know, I feel like it's really challenged the integrity of our process. So to me, let's transfer all of them.
Businesses too.
Well, let me, that's the next thing. So I think there is a vote to transfer all the non-profits, including the 29th, to the council. We can make that decision tonight. We're going to adjust businesses in a second. But
Can I get another set?
another
Can
bite.
I go after another bite of the apple? Man,
We only have cookies, not.
as many,
in the event that we turn down a not-for-profit, it will be overturned by the council. I don't think there's, and personally, any question. That statement, as a standalone statement as it stands, there is going to be same groupthink that we saw executed last night. Then go through and let's take a look at it. Conversely, we approve everything. It's a rubber stamp. To go through there. So if we're going to, you know, the people on the 29th are expected to hear. When's the next council meeting, you know, after the 29th? I guess it's the next 14th, I think. So they wouldn't get a chance to be heard. I understand that. I would almost say, let's approve en masse the people on the 29th and defer or take no further action for the remainder of the nonprofits to give them, you know, if we need to go down to that level of detail, or Jackie's can converse, just approve them all. UHY said they're good.
I would not be in favor of that
Yeah, I
because
wasn't
that
either.
gives the impression that we reviewed them with our
Yeah.
due diligence as we have the others. You know, let the council find whatever infirmities in the application,
Sure.
but don't say that we approved.
I wouldn't want to say we approved everything.
Amy.
One thing that I'm struggling with is the people on the 29th. People are eager to get these, they applied back in December, they're eager for movement on these applications, and I feel sorry for all the applicants because this has taken a while and, you know, they want to know their stats. So, you know, and if we say we're not reviewing anymore, we're handing over to the council, people, general public feels slighted, you know, spurned.
Rob, hold on, we'll get to you.
So I would like to be able to have the people feel like we are actually looking out for their best interest, because even if you did attend something here, we don't have any teeth. So you know, even if you get excited that you're on the agenda next week, it doesn't matter.
Rob,
It doesn't matter whether we review applications on the 29th or not, to be quite honest with you. If we voted yes or no, it's still gonna sit in a folder until the town council reviews it. They're gonna review it, they're gonna, whatever they're, I'm not gonna be, you know, I can't predict what they're gonna do. We assume what they're gonna do, and But that being said, so whether we review things on the 29th or not, it doesn't matter. It's not gonna move that money to their account any sooner than if we don't do anything on the 29th. So, you know, they're gonna have to, even if they come to the 29th, they hear us pass or not, it's still not official until the town council votes on it. So it doesn't matter. They're not gonna get their money and get their final determination until the town council votes on it. And that's not gonna change whether we vote on the 29th or not.
I agree with everything you're saying, but my urges tell me to keep faith with the people that are sort of signed up for the 29th, and we spend that night on them. And for that reason, that this is the second time they would be rescheduled, and the frustration levels would be very high, and they wouldn't understand what's the context. They just wouldn't get it. And the anger would be directed at us, which is okay, you know, but it'd be a misunderstanding that we would be causing. So I don't want to spend any more time wasted than anybody else, but I'm willing to sacrifice the 29th, take those up on the merits with all serious intent that we've given every other application. Many of them will be here if we go forward with it. And then take the balance and transfer them over. And I prefer to take the balance and transfer them over tonight, frankly, so everyone can get going on it. But Rob, can you live with that?
I'll listen, I love everybody on this committee. I'll support whatever the group decides to do with my full conviction. So yes.
All right. Who can't live with going forward on the 29th and transferring everything else, and talking nonprofits, everything else over?
I can go forward with it,
Said-
man,
everyone is not going to be happy. I know this.
It's up in the music parents and High School. I mean,
But
is it booted again?
the whole point is whether we approve it or don't approve it, doesn't make a difference. It's still gonna take till the 14th.
I'm willing to be here to make this.
I'm willing to be here, I'm willing to be here, that's our job, but it's not our fault. I
Sure.
mean, this is, and I wanna make this clear, if somebody's listening to this, this is not our fault at all. If the council didn't do what they did last night, we had meetings scheduled, those groups, whether they're business or not-for-profits, we were going to do them.
Yeah.
But they took the wind out of the sail last night. I mean, they just said, we don't care what you do. And we understood that they could override a decision or change a decision we made, but not the way they did it last night.
Right.
Not even looking at it, and I'm gonna say this again, not even looking at one of those applications. The majority of the council hasn't looked at one, and yet they approved them.
And remember, for some of you weren't there, but I went through some of the applications and explained why I didn't score them higher, why collectively they didn't meet the muster. And one was Riva's Meat Market. And Joe Mira came down, the chair of the EDC, and said, well, I think that should have been approved. And that's a business, right? So that's the foretelling of what is going to happen here with regard to the businesses. So
We're gonna talk about the business.
I know.
after this, correct?
Yeah,
There are no
we're-
vacancies.
No.
yeah.
I just was stunned to hear that.
Yeah.
I want to further just narrow down where we're going with this. Carl, Jackie, Chris, Jesse, no one is happy.
I'll come for the.
No one is happy.
Listen, I'm of the opinion for the 29th, we put it on the agenda, let's go do it.
I agree.
And-
I think we meet our obligations and then we decide what we want to do after that,
Well,
whether
I-
that's now or later, I don't care.
What I'm trying to find out if we're ready to make a vote tonight, a decision tonight to transfer the rest to the council,
The rest of what?
nonprofits in this conversation. So that would be like 14 nonprofits.
Fine. I would make that, I would agree to that.
You would agree?
Jackie,
you're-
not happily, but I will agree to that.
14.
They're roughly 14 and we can recount them right here. I have,
Wait, now we're transferring 14 to the town council?
yeah. Well, I'm going to recount, or you guys can count.
Are we still doing March 29th?
Yes,
Yeah.
under this. So Operation
Did we
Fuel,
go from 4 to 14?
say that again.
So
It's all the rest of the nonprofits.
20
that-
you were actually out of the room. So initially there were 4 that were the largest ones that are at the end. And then Chris suggested that we just transfer all remaining to them since it's debatable as to whether or not our scores would even matter. And that's how we got to the remaining 14 after the 29.
And the remaining 14, are those all your words, big ticket numbers, or are they
It's a
appropriate?
mixed bag.
Well, they include, the big ticket numbers are here,
Okay.
nonprofits. But we would transfer everything from community health center down. Historic Preservation Trust was added later, but that's in the list. So everything,
For me, we've approved some of the nonprofits and we're gonna approve some on the 29.
yeah,
I would be fine. I'm not an accountant. I'd be comfortable with the 4 big ticket items going to the town council, but I feel again, we were assigned to do this, and if they're not big ticket and we're.
okay.
What would be the benefit of us doing them at this particular point if we said to the council, take them back and they haven't been on the agenda yet? And we're weeks before getting to them. Why? Because what's the point of us doing them? They're gonna pass them all anyway.
Because the council, well, I won't use the lazy word, but they would have to have a special meeting to deal with it. So we're meeting once or a couple times every week. They meet every 2 weeks.
So we got to focus on this. So I'm going to make a motion, which is sort of a hybrid of thoughts that this isn't the motion yet. I'm intending to make a motion that'll accomplish the following. We keep the agenda on the 29th. We deal with them in every serious way that we've been doing. And tonight we will decide by a vote to transfer the balance over to the council. And I would get that memo out tomorrow or the next day. So that's where this is going. So I'm gonna make a motion that we do just that we continue on with the 29th as scheduled and vote to refer the balance of the nonprofits to the council for their action.
Second.
So that's that. Now that it's clarified, I know we're all frustrated and I am too. But I'm trying to get out of this. So let's take a roll call, or we'll just go around the table. So Mike is a yes. Hold on. Mike is a yes. Carl?
Carl is a yes.
Jackie?
No.
Chris?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Jesse?
Well, this is the balance. I will, I'm gonna vote no, but I am with you. I feel like I would prefer that we ask to transfer the full amount, but I am a no.
You're a no.
Mhm.
Can I just ask, what does that look like? Dear council, would you be willing to do the work that we were assigned to do?
I mean, here's the thing, they're in charge, right? You're in charge. So if we give it to them, what if they say, no, take it back? We could,
Their problem.
right, but I mean,
Their
like, then aren't we, well, then that is their problem, but I mean.
They don't, if they
make
say,
the-
if we ask and they say no, it's our problem.
We didn't come to them last
So-
night and say, we're having difficulty.
Jesse just voted them, so.
Yeah, I know, I respect that.
That's the motion.
Amy?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Craig?
I'm a
Yes?
Yeah.
All right, so
Sorry, I
that
didn't-
passes.
Assume with you.
And that's the decision. Now, we have the issue of the businesses. We can afford, I think, to defer that until the 29th.
Sure.
And
If we're passing these back to the council, to not-for-profits, can you outreach at the same time and let them know that we're struggling, what to do with the rest of the businesses, and that,
the council, you mean?
yeah, to tell the council that I'm not trying to speak for everybody, but just picking up some verbs from some of the other people in the room here, that we might have an issue with some of the rest of the businesses. If they're gonna take back those,
Well, here's,
I don't know why we would be working on the businesses either. Because any business tonight that failed, based on standard deviation, is gonna pass.
Not all of them, but most.
But even if the score, I mean, we are bound by 7, right? They are bound by not a scoring process, but a 5 to 4, right? So all somebody has to do even if they miss on the deviation, is somebody makes a motion on the council to pass it, and they need 5 votes.
Right.
So anybody going to the microphone, in an election year, who's a business in town, is, that's just gonna be, I see it. I saw it with Joe Mira last night.
well, let's wait for the shoe to drop on this and we'll take up this
Yeah.
issue with respect to businesses on the 29th.
Yeah, if I could make a comment real quick, I
Yeah.
hope I'm not interrupting anybody because I can't see you, but I just want to remind everybody that there were some comments made about our responsibility. We're responsible citizens doing volunteer work to the best in a very competent and responsible way for the citizens of this community. We are not lackeys of a town council, some whose members are very questionable in lots of different characteristics. So I refuse to be a lackey for anyone. And if they're going to change, again, I repeated myself, but we agreed to do this based on the information that were given us and the edicts at the time that we agreed to it. If they're going to change the rules, then I feel no responsibility or guilt for us also changing the rules. It's a two-way street. We're not a bunch of lackeys, and we don't take orders from a town council that's going to behave in that manner. So this is my own personal opinion, just for others to consider. Don't feel bashful that if we change the rules, if we ship these businesses, for example, back to the town council and they refuse and throw them back in our lap, we have no obligation to vote on that. We're responsible adults. We can make our own decisions. That's all I have to say.
Okay, I think we've run out of business and we can adjourn unless I'm missing something.
So moved.
Okay. Anyone object to adjourning? So we are adjourned.